Have you ever ignored a gut feeling and regretted it later? Or sat in meditation, hoping for guidance, but instead you get a flood of random thoughts? Do you ever wonder why your intuition seems out of reach, especially when you need it most? Well, today you'll discover three things. First, the 8 hidden blocks that silence your intuition. Second, simple meditation fixes for this you can use anywhere, even while driving or multitasking. And third, a 2 minute daily reset that clears the static and reconnects you to your inner guidance. And if you don't clear these blocks, you'll just keep mistaking fear for intuition. And that single mistake can quietly shape your entire life in the wrong direction. Probably not what you want. So by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what's been blocking your intuition, and you'll walk away with tools to finally trust your inner voice with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. Hey there, and welcome to the Spirits Beside Us podcast, where we explore real ways to connect with the other side without fear, without doubt, and without doing it alone. I'm Chris Lippincott, international medium, spiritual teacher, and best-selling author. And it's my mission to help you hear from your spirit guides and loved ones in the afterlife so you can feel grounded, guided, and at peace. And if you feel that you're getting something useful from these episodes, please be sure to follow, like, and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. So, a little bit about my background. See, for years, I thought meditation should make intuition obvious to me. I kind of pictured myself sitting in silence and hearing this crystal clear inner voice. Well, that's what my teachers were saying, and all the gurus were kind of recommending it. And it kind of sounded like it makes sense. But instead, all I heard was mind chatter, list of things that I had to do, conversations, self doubt, worries. It was all frustrating. I thought something was definitely wrong with me. It sounded so easy and so obvious, yet somehow I couldn't get it to work. But here's what I eventually discovered. My intuition was always there. It wasn't broken, neither was I. It was just buried under noise, fear, and patterns I didn't even know were blocking me. My ego mind continued to hold on to my reality with a vice grip. It kept yelling so loudly I couldn't hear anything else. But once I started clearing those blocks, especially lessening the chatter from my ego mind, the guidance came through, louder, clearer, and more reliable than ever. Think about the last decision that you really struggled with. Was it about your job, a relationship, your health, or maybe your finances? Now imagine if you could have heard your intuition clearly in that moment, kind of like a trusted inner guide whispering the answer. So let's uncover what's been standing in the way. So block number one, mental noise and overthinking. For example, you sit down to meditate, hoping for clarity, but instead your brain gives you a grocery list, a work agenda, or replays of yesterday's argument. Sound familiar? See, we live in a culture that rewards constant thinking, planning, analyzing, strategizing. We live in the future, or we worry about the past. Seems that we never really manage to live in the now. That's really all we can control. And while the mind is a powerful tool, it can also drown out the subtle voice of intuition. You see, intuition doesn't shout, it whispers, just like spirit. Overthinking turns up the volume so high that the whisper gets lost in the static. It's like the example of the AM radio I often use. See, you need to be tuned into the station to pick up the music, otherwise, you get static. Meditation is just tuning into your own intuition. And really, we get intuitive hits all day long. We hear tiny whispers, and we have gut feelings that we might just chalk up to our own mind. The issue isn't that we don't get them, it's that do we even hear them in the first place? And the second issue is, do we even bother to pay attention to them if we do hear them? See, our analytical mind is always loudly yapping away, so we might not ever hear the intuition. And even if we did hear it, we're so focused on satisfying the analytical mind that we ignore the intuition. A client once told me, "Oh, I don't think I even have intuition." But as we talked, she realized that she'd had gut feelings all along. She just always talked herself out of them. That's mental noise at work. So try this right now. Even if you're driving or you're walking or you're gardening or you're doing something, just notice your next inhale And then your next exhale. If a thought shows up, just label it once silently as thinking. Then gently return to your breath. Do that 3 times, that's all. One breath, one label, let it go. Now, if you're able, stretch it a little further. Notice the temperature of the air as it enters your nose. Feel the rise of your chest. And as you exhale, imagine releasing a layer of static, like turning down the volume on a radio. Do this 3 times. You don't have to be perfectly still. You can still do this while you're walking, driving, or even washing the dishes. But what matters is noticing the breath and letting the thought go. Now, think about a time when you overthought a decision. What did your gut say first? And did your head talk you out of it? That might be your emotion speaking. So let's look at block number 2, unprocessed emotion. Things like fear and anxiety. Fear is one of the biggest imposters of intuition. Anxiety feels urgent, tight, and loud. Intuition, by contrast, feels calm, even when it's guiding you towards something uncomfortable. The trouble is, when emotions are unprocessed, they hijack the channel. What you think is intuition may just be fear shouting at you. See, I once had a big decision about moving, and some of you may know I recently moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And while it always felt right, and God knows I am so glad that I did move, there were naturally times of hesitation, leaving behind what I had known for over 22 years. See, there was a time when I thought moving was the wrong choice. My chest felt tight and my heart raced. At first, I thought, oh, that means it's all wrong. But in reality, it was just fear of change, not my intuition saying no. The difference between fear and intuition can feel subtle, but when you learn to separate them, everything changes. Okay, here's a micro practice that I call RAIN, RAIN. Recognize, name it. This is fear. Allow, take one breath with it. Investigate, where your mind do you feel, and nurture. Place a hand there and whisper, I got you. Just a few breaths of this creates space between fear and intuition. One is panic, the other is wisdom. If you're able, extend this for one more minute. Let your breath lengthen on the exhale. Say to yourself, I'm safe in this moment. Notice how your body just softens, even just slightly. Because remember, fear tightens, intuition softens. That's how you know. So how many times have you mistaken fear for intuition and only realized it later? All right, block number 3, self-doubt and the inner critic. Even when intuition shows up, the inner critic often shuts it right down. Who are you to know? What if you're wrong? That voice makes us second guess and seek answers outside of ourselves. As an example, a woman I once worked with had strong intuitive nudges about her career, but every time she thought about making a move, she'd hear in her mind, oh, you're going to fail, you're not good enough. Once she began practicing self-trust meditations, however, she noticed her intuition was there all along. She just needed permission to listen. So you can do this simple practice. You can do it anywhere. Just breathe in, and on your exhales, say to yourself silently, may I trust what I know? Repeat that 3 times. Just let your shoulders relax and drop a little bit more with each round. This rewires self-doubt and inner trust. Take it one step further. After the 3rd repetition, place your hand over your heart and ask, what small truth do I already know right now? Don't overthink the answer. In fact, don't think about it at all. Just notice what comes up for you. What's the first feeling? It might be simple. I'm tired. I need water. I should call a friend. These small truths train you to trust your bigger truth, and that's important. Okay. Of these first 3 blocks, mental noise, fear, and self-doubt, which one shows up the most in your life? And hold that in your mind as we go deeper. All right. Block number 4, outcome, attachment, and control. When we desperately want a certain answer, we pressure intuition to agree with us. But you see, intuition doesn't work on demand. Forcing narrows your focus, while intuition comes in wide, soft awareness. See, I once asked in meditation if I should take on a big project. I wanted the answer to be yes so badly that I convinced myself that intuition was saying yes. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I ended up burned out and totally regretting it. So try widening your awareness. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the air in your skin. Hear the farthest sound in the room. Try listening to the farthest sound you can outside and let it all in without clinging on to any of it. It only takes 2 or 3 breaths of this to open the channel and for intuition to arrive, rather than forcing it. And for 1 minute, play with expanding your awareness. Notice not just sounds, but space itself, the room around you, the openness above you. Intuition arrives in that open field, not in a narrow focus. Have you ever pushed for a yes, only to later wish you'd listened to the quiet no? Hmm. Okay, block number 5, body disconnection. Intuition often speaks through the body before the mind, maybe a tight stomach, an expanded chest, a sudden stillness. These are all intuitive clues. But if you're disconnected from your body, you're going to miss them entirely. As an example, a client of mine once realized that every time she ignored her intuition in relationships, her stomach had clenched as tight as a fist. Of course, she just didn't notice it until later, after the relationship issue had already passed. The body was speaking to her, she just wasn't listening. So, how often have you ignored your own body giving you signs? So, here's a simple practice that you can do anytime. Just do a mini body scan. While you're sitting or moving, sweep the attention from the crown of your head down to your toes. If you notice tightness anywhere, just pause for a deeper exhale there in that space. Ask yourself, does this feel open or closed? That answer is often your intuition speaking. Try it now. Start at the crown of your head. Move slowly downward, your forehead, your jaw, your throat, your shoulders. Pause at the chest. Notice if it feels open or tight. And continue down through the belly, the hips, the legs, and the feet. And wherever you sense something, ask, is this a yes or a no? Did you know that studies show the body reacts seconds before the brain when making decisions? Your intuition literally lives in your body. Consider that fact the next time you make a big decision. All right, block number 6, inconsistent stillness. See, intuition is like a muscle. Repetition keeps it strong, and the same is true for meditation. Students of mine often hear me remind them that consistency is much more important than duration. If you only meditate occasionally, the signal stays kind of weak. Daily repetition, even for 2 minutes, strengthens the channel, both to your intuition and to spirit. Anchor stillness to a habit that you've already got. Here are a couple examples. After brushing your teeth, pause for 6 breaths. After parking your car, pause for 6 breaths. Just do small, consistent stillness that sharpens your intuition far more than occasional long sits. It also helps you improve your focus and your concentration. And as you practice, notice how repetition builds trust in yourself, in your intuition, and in spirit. Students also hear me repeat the phrase trust and surrender. You need to begin to build trust in the process. And just like brushing your teeth, you don't expect a single session to fix everything. But over time, the routine keeps the channel clear. Okay, so which of these 6 blocks that we just covered so far resonates the most with you? Don't worry if more than one hits home because most of us carry several. And that's why I'm going to give you a simple 2-minute reset at the end of this that clears everything. All right, moving on. Block number 7, fear of being wrong, social conditioning. See, often intuition speaks, but we might silence it to avoid looking foolish or wrong or to keep others happy. See, we trade inner wisdom for external approval. Humans have been wired this way since we lived in caves. We desperately sought social approval so that we weren't tossed out of the clan because there's always safety in numbers. We didn't want to be alone. Say 2 tigers out there hunting us, right? So over time, intuition can feel weak, not because it left, but because we stopped listening and we focus more on the external approval or avoiding the pain of looking silly. See, I once had a client who knew deep down that she just didn't want to stay at her job, but every time her intuition spoke, she shut it down because of what her family expected. She wasn't wrong. She was just conditioned in a different way. So here's a simple inquiry. Breathe in. Ask yourself silently, if no one had any opinions about this, what feels true for me? Sit with whatever comes, even if it's faint. That faint whisper is your intuition. Try journaling the first thing that comes up after asking. Often it's something small. I need rest. but those small truths build courage for the bigger ones. Now, how often have you ignored your gut just to please somebody else? What if just once you gave yourself permission to follow it? How do you think that would feel? I think it would feel kind of nice. Okay, block number 8, energetic clutter and input overload. When life is filled with noise, constant scrolling, nonstop podcasts, hopefully this one, right? News, caffeine, jitters, intuition just gets drowned out. It's like trying to hear a violin in the middle of New York City traffic. That also ties back to meditation and giving yourself time to sit in the quiet. Meditation allows you to take a break from hearing your loud conscious mind and gives you a brief respite, a sense of peace, even if it's only for a little while. But you see, that's really all you need. Take a 1-minute sensory fast. Put your phone on silent if you can. Don't worry, you can go back to it later. Soften your gaze. Notice the farthest sound that you can hear and let that be your focus for 3 breaths. That simple pause creates space for intuition. If you can, stretch that out to 2 minutes. Notice how your shoulders soften when there's no input, demanding attention. You may also notice the tension melt away off the shoulders as you're doing that. It'll help you notice just how much tension has built up in your body. The silence is not empty. It's full of signals. So how often do you check your phone before you check in with yourself? Because the more you unplug, the calmer you're going to feel. Remember, if you can, what it felt like to live before there were any cell phones even in existence controlling your life. Wasn't that a quiet time? I thought so. Okay, so today we've covered 8 intuition blocks: mental noise, fear, self-doubt, outcome control, body disconnection, inconsistency, social conditioning, and overload. Each one adds static to your channel and tension to your body. But now you also have simple meditation fixes for each one. Okay, here's your 2-minute intuition reset that you can use every day, just like I promised earlier. Take 3 slow breaths. If thoughts show up, and they probably will, just label them thinking, but don't engage with them. Let them pass. Place a hand on your body and ask, does this feel open or closed? Widen your awareness to the space and the sounds around you. Then ask, what's my next honest step? And if you try this daily, even for just 2 minutes a day, you'll notice that your intuition begins strengthening. Decisions feel lighter, your inner guidance comes through more often, and you'll begin to trust yourself in ways that you didn't think were possible. Also, you can watch how your intuition improves. Start journaling your intuitive hits and track the outcomes that might have occurred had you actually listened to them for once. You might be pleasantly surprised at what happens. Now imagine facing a decision and not second guessing it this time. Imagine your inner voice speaking clearly, calmly, like a trusted spirit guide whispering in your ear. Spoiler alert, that's exactly what's actually happening. That's the life that's waiting for you when you clear these blocks. So to make this even easier for you, I created a free guided meditation that you can download and replay anytime. You can get it at montclairmedium.com/free-meditation. The link is in the description. See, your intuition is already speaking, but now you've got the tools to listen. All right. Remember that connecting with your intuition is the same thing as connecting with your spirit guides who are giving you advice when you ask for it. When you learn to listen to your intuition, you'll also be able to better hear your guides. And if that's already on your mind, you're not alone. That's probably one of the most common questions I get. And it's exactly why I created an episode titled How to Connect with Your Spirit Guides. And if you haven't heard it yet, go there next. The link is also in the description. So if you've got any questions at all, I'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to me at chris@spiritsbesideus.com. This is Chris sending you love and light. I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Bye for now.